Hey, how's it going, friends? Thank you for tuning into VR Revelation. So, we have some pretty interesting developing news here. So, earlier today, the president of Russia, Vladimir Putin, had a video call at this annual event they hold in Russia, and he was speaking of what is going on right now in the Russia-Ukraine war. Um, and you could throw in the U.S. in there and all its allies. And he said that the nuclear risk is rising, but he also said that Russia is not mad, and that they wouldn't use nuclear weapons except to defend themselves. So, pretty interesting stuff here, because there is a lot of speculation of the use of nuclear weapons, of course. And we just had this news that Russian bases were attacked by this drone that was possibly being manned by Ukraine. Now, I say possibly because with all the news that is taking place, there's always two sides to the story, and then you have your biased media news sources from both sides. So you kind of have to just read through all of that and try to piece it together yourself, and that's exactly what I try to do here on this channel. But from what we can learn through all the news sources, it looks like Russian bases were attacked inside of Russian territory. And I'm not talking about the territory they've conquered in Ukraine, but their actual territory before the war. And, at first it looks like some Ukrainian officials might have been implying or that, it was a successful attack by them, but, it was never really specified. And then information about the drones came out. It looks like Russia did shoot two drones or something, or around that amount. And the information was that these drones appeared to be old drones from the Soviet era. And Ukraine had these drones. It looks like they actually updated them, and those are drones that they could have possibly used to attack these bases inside Russia. Now, the worry here is that's possibly gonna agitate Russia to cause it to act more unrational or something like that, and that could possibly draw in NATO forces physically, or American forces. Now, some people were trying to imply this could be like some masterful move by Ukraine to save itself and actually draw the U.S. and NATO into the war. Others would call it foolish, because it could lead to World War III. And others, are saying that it might have just been a boneheaded move by the Ukrainians, like a desperate attempt to cause some chaos inside of Russia. And you have the other side saying that this is false. Ukraine had nothing to do with this, and then you have the really crazy ideas that surely will be claiming that it was a false flag on Russia's part. So they attack themselves, and then they give themselves a reason to carry out these military objectives in Ukraine. What am I more apt to think? I think that it was Ukraine. That's the one that I would choose based on the situation. And it could be a move to draw the U.S. in. And I think in part that's why Vladimir Putin is saying that the risk of nuclear war is increasing, and that certainly does seem to be the case. And eventually, I do think it will lead to that. I don't think it will be this year or next year, but eventually, because of Bible prophecy, I do think there will be nuclear war. However, some people are thinking it's going to happen like tomorrow or like by the end of this year. I don't think that is the case. I think things will develop a little bit further. So let's actually read a little bit about what he actually said here from this BBC article. Very interesting. I recommend you go watch the speech or go read about it. But it says the Russian president insisted that his country would only use weapons of mass destruction in response to an attack. Speaking at Russia's annual Human Rights Council meeting, he also said the war in Ukraine could be a lengthy process. Western officials believe Putin initially planned for a rapid victory. Russia's capacity to use nuclear weapons has come under increased scrutiny since it invaded Ukraine in February. Such a threat is growing. It would be wrong to hide it, Putin warned while talking about the prospect of nuclear war via video link from Moscow. But he asserted that Russia would under no circumstances use the weapons first and would not threaten anyone with its nuclear arsenal. We have not gone mad. We are aware of what nuclear weapons are, he said, adding, we aren't about to run around the world brandishing this weapon like a razor. Of course, the West, the United States, have accused Russia of doing just that, of using nuclear weapons as a bullying tool to try to assert its will. But let's keep on reading here. So it says Putin also boasted that Russia had the most modern and advanced nuclear weapons in the world. I do believe they do have the most advanced nuclear weapons in the world. You can go read about their Sarmat 2 missile, or I believe the nation ironically calls it the Satan 2 missile. So it's this nuclear intercontinental ballistic missile that is, I mean, like, it's huge. It's like yards long, and it's massive. It looks like a spaceship. It has all of this anti-missile technology and like anti-radar and whatnot. And on top of that, it can fly at crazy speeds, like above Mach 10, Mach 15, Mach 20. That's where Russia does lead with these supersonic or hypersonic missiles. Or whatever they're called, but their missiles are the fastest, and the speed alone makes them almost impossible to take down. But then on top of that, you add all this technology in it, and the size of the missile is so massive that it actually allows them to put multiple nuclear weapons inside one missile. It pretty much gives them the ability to take out something the size of Texas with like one missile. Now, just imagine them having, hundreds and thousands of other nuclear missiles. So, it's not just Russia, the U.S. or Russia alone could destroy the world, planet Earth, humanity many times over if they wanted to. But conflict between both of them would be mutually assured destruction. Even conflict with like China or the UK, these other nuclear superpowers, even though they don't have as much nuclear missiles as Russia or the US, you don't need that many. I'm sure they have massive nuclear bombs. Even bigger than the ones they did test during the Cold War era, and those bombs got pretty big. With the biggest being the one that Russia detonated, the Tsar Bomba, and scientists found out that these bombs can be made exponentially bigger. So they definitely have the capability of destroying the world, and that's what Putin is saying. We understand that, we're not mad, so we're not going to use nuclear weapons because we know that would essentially be the end of the world, and we'll only use them if we are attacked. as a defensive measure. And of course, like I was just saying, it looks like Russia was just attacked by some drones. So, and they could have been from Ukraine. So again, you know, at what point do you use nuclear weapons? What justifies them? Like, if you're the government and you see drones flying at you, you could possibly get killed. Are you gonna call for the use of nuclear weapons to eliminate the enemy, quickly? That is what is worrying when we're talking about these real world scenarios where war is taking place. And so, I'm aware of that. I think a lot of your everyday people are not aware of that, or possibly don't like to think about these, terrible possibilities. But that is the reality uh, of the world in which we are living in. So it continues to go on here. It says, appearing to recognize that his plan to claim victory within days of invading Ukraine had failed, Putin admitted the war could be a lengthy process. However, he said the results had already been significant. For example, the new territories Russia has illegally claimed after sham referendums in 4 regions of Ukraine. Of course, you can see here the BBC is obviously uh, not for Russia, and they do support Ukraine. Um, but yeah, Russia did claim this land, and so this territory they conquered there, some would say took back, and from Putin's point of view, they have achieved victory. He also goes on to talk about how he is aware that if they did push further into Ukraine, that might scare Poland and these other countries on the border and might draw them into the war, and that could escalate into NATO joining the conflict. So he seems to be very aware of all this, and I think he goes on to say that the United States is also aware of this. He believes that in their heart of hearts they know how quickly this could escalate and turn into a nuclear conflict, and I believe that is true. I don't believe, like I said from the beginning, I said it. The U.S. has always known that we're talking about the end of the world type of stuff here when it comes to conflicts with whether it's Russia or China because of these nuclear weapons. And from the beginning, I said I don't think the U.S. is willing to start the end of the world over Ukraine. I think they'll take it as far as they want to take it in order to sort of create destabilization or weakness in Russia, but I don't think, they will risk ending the world over Ukraine. Unfortunately for the Ukrainians, I think the support would stop there eventually. But like Putin said, he's very aware that if he did take the whole of Ukraine, that would scare the other countries near the border. So it seems like he's implying that he's not willing to take it all the way. But again, how close is he willing to go? Is he willing to go to the capital of Ukraine? Is he willing to go to Kyiv and just stop there? Or, once you take some territory, you taste the blood, you smell the blood like a shark, and you just want more. And that's exactly what used to happen when we didn't have nuclear weapons. That's why we had all these conquerors. That's why people went to war in ancient times. That's why we hear of these warriors like Alexander the Great, Caesar, all those emperors, Napoleon, these conquerors, right? These political figures that went out there and wanted to implement their will and their strength on these other nations. And that's essentially why people go to war. But they used to do that with the sword and shield. Now we're talking about nuclear weapons. This this radical weapon that is so far from the sword and shield. We're talking about the splitting of atoms here. It's almost like a sort of magic when you think about the way they were able to discover all of this. But they did unlock that secret there of the universe to, harness that energy. And I think in reality that's exactly what is going to lead to the biblical fulfillment of the prophecies that are in the Bible. We're going to end up fulfilling the end of times prophecy with those weapons, and we're going to do it by destroying ourselves. As God's judgment, it's God's judgment, but we're going to play a part in that. And even science, even for the people, the unbelievers, they have their quotes, such as Moore's law: anything that can go wrong will go wrong. And nuclear weapons have been used before. They were invented to be used, and you can't put your faith in men. If it's not Putin, another leader will rise after him, and eventually one of them will not care and will use these weapons. But I do think we are much closer to that than people realize. And these are historical events we're living through. This, at least I'm 30 years old, and in my life, I never saw Russia or any of these world superpowers making these type of moves on the world scene. And so it is very alarming, but also very exciting times for those people that are searching for the truth, and are looking for these things. But yeah, that is what is going on right now in Russia there. I will be making more videos following up on any more developments here. So please make sure you stay tuned. I like talking about the news and, giving my opinion on the thing, and also as to how that relates to, biblical prophecy and the end times and things like that, which I believe we are going through right now. But anyways, thank you. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you give the video a like. I hope you have a wonderful day. This is VR Revelations. God bless you.